I was going to open with, every time FP shows up, I just start chanting, skeet, skeet, skeet. Is that awkward if I open with that? Too late.
Welcome to the Crooked Table Podcast, where we discuss the world of film from a fresh angle. And now your host, Robert Yaniz Jr.
Welcome to the Crooked Table Podcast. This is Rob.
And this is Kai.
On this episode, we're taking what I'm calling a crooked detour, and we're heading over to Riverdale. So my whole idea with this is, yes, the Crooked Table is the world of film from a fresh angle, but occasionally, maybe I don't want to talk about film. Maybe I want to talk about something else in pop culture. I want to talk about TV or music or, literature or videos or, videos. By videos, I mean YouTube because they're all videos, obviously, or internet or something else relating to pop culture. So with this episode, I thought, Riverdale seasons 1 and 2 are both streaming on Netflix. And we recently got into a heavy binge situation with the show. So we're going to be talking about full seasons 1 and 2, so spoilers ahead. So if you have any interest in Riverdale and haven't watched the show, I think we would both recommend you check it out. But that's basically the philosophy behind a crooked detour. You might see on the thumbnail image that we're sort of branding it with, this episode with that tagline, so to speak. So Riverdale, Kai, we're talking about Riverdale. Are you excited?
I am excited.
We've been talking about Riverdale a lot lately since we just finished season 2 a few days ago. So I guess to start with, I think it would make sense to kind of like just scene setting. What is our connection with Archie Comics, I guess, individually, pre-Riverdale, obviously?
Well, when you said about we just finished it a couple days ago, just so you know, Riverdale just dropped on Netflix only about a little over a week ago now. And there's 22 episodes in the second season.
And we have a toddler, so we did not watch much during the week.
Yes, so that basically meant we may have watched more than 4 episodes at some points.
Yeah.
To finish.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my connection with Archie Comics is when I was a little girl, me and my sister read Archie Comics. That was actually the only comic books that we read, and we loved them. And Archie Comics is the comic book that taught me how to read, I guess. Read to myself, because I would read out loud. My sister would say, "Can you read to yourself?" And so we loved Archie Comics, and my sister and I even tried to draw our own Archie comic when I was about 9 years old, I'd say. And so that's my connection with Archie. I grew up with it.
Right. So you had sort of you were bringing that vision of the characters to this and to this version, right?
Right.
Yeah, and see, I as a I guess stereotypical white straight male always saw those like cash registers in the grocery store and be like, that looks so lame, and then just walked right past it and went to the magazine section to flip through like Mad magazine and Crack before it was a website and it was just a magazine. So I thought it was kind of ridiculous and childish, and I never had any interest in that. And it's interesting that you're saying like Archie Comics is my jam, and I wonder how that enters into the Marvel DC rivalry. Like, are you like, is Archie Comics like the third party? Be like, we're over here doing our own thing.
Oh, I don't know.
With Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
I don't know. I can't speak to that. I would have to talk to the other people I know that are at Archie Comics, which, other than my sister, nobody I know.
Yeah, nobody. But they still sell them for, I'm assuming, for decades. They've been in like grocery stores.
Yeah, and they're expensive too, like $6 or whatever. And we had like stacks of them.
And they've revamped it several times.
Yeah.
Like you even see at the end of the show, the Archie Comics logo. It's like old school Archie, and then it's like the more modern Archie that looks, still got the red hair, but like looks like a normal person, not like a cartoon. Like, gosh, Jughead or whatever. Gee Willikers, Betty, or whatever I don't know how they talk.
That's pretty close to what they say.
Is it? I'm assuming.
Books, yeah.
And of course they have the Riverdale, the Riverdale prequel comics or whatever that's sort of, I guess, tie into this first season of the series. So that was what I came to Archie Comics. I had basically no relationship with Archie Comics except thinking they were kind of ridiculous and silly and having pretty much no interest in it. So I guess the question then is, how did this happen? Like when Riverdale premiered, did you have any interest in it? or because I remember you heard about the because basically, like I said, full spoilers for this episode. Basically, the first 4 or 5 episodes, maybe 3 to 5 episodes, center kind of heavily on Archie's having a relationship with one of his teachers, his music teacher, who in the comic books is this elderly lady, and here she's like this, like I don't know, 30-something, like with her hair tied back and glasses, like sultry type. Bookish sultry, I guess.
Well, actually, I didn't know anything about that part of it. It wasn't until we watched one of your favorite film reviewers who watched the first episode of Riverdale that he even said...
You're talking about Black Nerd guy?
Yeah.
And
Andre? He said that Archie had an affair with Miss Grundy, and I'm like, wait, what? The old
Harold and Maude style?
The old lady from the comic books, and they were doing the shoes, and I'm like, at first I think I could have gotten behind the show, but once I heard about that, I was like, okay, I really don't want to watch this now, because that is taking my like the love of Archie's and just contorting it. I don't know.
So there was nothing about the central premise of taking Archie Comics characters and building basically, I mean, let's be honest, a teen soap opera.
And I think that's the other reason I want to watch it. I had no interest in watching a teen soap opera. I haven't ever really watched those shows.
Yeah, well, I mean,
watch One Tree Hill. I didn't watch Gossip Girl.
We grew up in the era where Dawson's Creek was
and Dawson's Creek started boring after the 4th season. I stopped watching that show too.
I never watched any of that. Yeah. I didn't watch 90210 or...
Okay, I did watch that.
You're like, I haven't watched it just like ever, and then you're like, this and this.
But
and
I was
this,
also
and
7, and 7 is a lot different than 14.
Right.
And I was watching with girls that were older than me.
Right.
So it was kind of.
But that's why I guess I'm relating to listeners that.
90210.
Oh yeah, I'm relating to listeners that like Dawson's Creek was like basically the Riverdale of our high school years, like because people that are in high school now, I'm assuming some of them are watching Riverdale. And during our high school experience, Dawson's Creek was like that show, or like the teen soap situation, small town, and all that stuff. So I was sort of not really interested at all, based on, like I said, my connection to Archie Comics. And then over the course of season 1, especially like I guess between seasons 1 and 2 is where everybody started like talking about, oh my God, Riverdale's so much fun, blah blah blah, and I was like, really? Why do people keep talking about this? And they're like saying it's basically a guilty pleasure show, and I can see that a little bit now, especially, I've said this to you recently, we're 2 mid-30 somethings watching a show about teenagers being like, oh my God, I hope this all works out for Archie and Veronica or whatever, and meanwhile we're closer in age to the parents on the show than the teenagers that are like the main characters. I mean, yeah, I guess we are closer in age, so depend. But not the actors. We're closer in age to the actors on the show because they're all like mid to late 20s somethings, playing like 16 or whatever.
Right.
So it's really the buzz, and I follow a lot of entertainment writers on Twitter, so and watch YouTube as you mentioned. So kind of the buzz of that made me curious about it, and season 1 was already on Netflix. So basically what happened, I think this was March, I think.
Yeah, probably early March.
Like early March, it was Saturday night, and we were getting ready for SNL to start up, and we're going to watch that, and we were like, all right, let's just see what's on Netflix randomly, and I had it in my queue.
Yeah, you like dared me or something.
I had it in my queue, and I was sort of flirting with the idea of, do I want to watch Riverdale? Do I want to get involved in that?
You asked me, you said, okay, Guy, just pick out a show.
Yeah.
Just one episode for us to watch.
And I had it in my queue, and I was like, pick something in my queue, like a TV show or whatever.
Yeah, and I said, okay, Riverdale. And you were like, oh, and Netflix, they have so many shows to choose from that
right.
I could have chosen anything.
And as a movie person, I'm vastly behind on a lot of shows, even ones that I want to watch. So then we watched one of those, and then we were like, all right, let's watch the cold open, a little bit of SNL, and then fuck that, go back to Riverdale. And I think the first night we watched
we were up until 3.
Did we watch 4 episodes or something?
I think so.
That sounds
4
about
or
right.
5.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And they only had 13 episodes the first season.
Right,
so
and we'll talk about that when we get more into that part of it.
It didn't take that long to finish that part of it.
Yeah, that we finished over. God, oh my God, did we finish it like Monday night?
Yeah.
So we watched like 4 or 5 episodes the first night, like the next night like another 4 or 5, and then Sunday and Monday like finished off like the last 3, I think, or something.
Yeah.
So that was how kind of basically I guess we were both sort of curious about the show in summation, and kind of on a whim, but like, look, fine, let's just check it out, whatever, we're not going to get sucked into this at all, whoopsie. And there you have it. So now it's become like our I guess our show. Is this our show now?
This is our show.
Because we used to watch
but-
Supergirl, and then we kind of fell off with the beginning of season 3. We just fell behind, and now we're like a full season behind on Supergirl. And I still watch The Flash and Gotham, and I guess now that Gotham's only has one more season left, I guess that I only need the CW app going forward at this point. So that was our thoughts. So what did you think of season 1? I guess we could kind of bulk this together, kind of just reaction stuff for season 1, season 2, full spoilers, kind of just things we liked, things we didn't like, favorite or least favorite moments, storylines. What about the show, I guess, in season 1 sort of hooked you in, and what did you really respond to in season 1 of Riverdale?
What I responded to on season 1 of Riverdale is I liked how all of the same caricatures of the characters in the comics are on the show, but they add more dimension to them. Mm-hmm. So Veronica is still a rich girl, but
she's a rich girl.
But instead of just being a rich girl and that's like a frenemy of Betty and has a love triangle with Archie, she's also a rich girl that does seem like that she does have a heart. And
she's basically a mafia princess too, especially in season 2 they really get into that, but
like a good mafia princess.
I guess it's a double. She's kind of
double entendre,
I mean, I guess what your point is that a lot of the characters from the comics are there. Like there's still a Principal Weatherby, there's still Hiram Lodge, but a very different Hiram Lodge. There's still like the characters are on there, and they've just sort of modernized and like I guess grounded them a little bit more. Like for example, Jughead doesn't walk around with a goofy crown on his head. He has that cool little beanie that they sell on Amazon.
And I actually was going to say about Jughead on the show that they really created a personality out of him. Like in the comics, there's nothing about trailer parks, obviously, and
gangs and stuff.
Yeah, but they really created a character out of Jughead compared to Betty. She's still a good girl, wears her hair in a ponytail, but with some darkness.
When she's not wearing a dark wig. Yeah. Hey.
And Archie's still a good guy.
Right.
But Jughead, they really built a story, and I guess that's why Jughead is one of the favorites.
Right, I think so. Yeah, they even say on some video we watched recently on YouTube that Jughead's character is definitely the biggest departure from the comic books, and that in the comics, for example, he's asexual. Like he doesn't have a relationship with anybody. He's just like, oh, Betty, if I were to ever be with anybody, it'd be Betty. But that's about it.
And he loves,
they still talk about how he loves food. But they have his hat that he only has off like maybe a half a dozen times over the course of this series thus far.
And he's actually more of a jokey, like a jokester character in the comic books.
Yeah, here he's dark and brooding.
Exactly. So it's
and he's the narrator of the series, and it's very film noir-ish, and he's a writer, which I guess probably part of the reason I respond to Jughead so much.
Definitely.
He's the outsider. And I think that makes him sort of relatable in general, especially for a teen audience who like, I feel like I'm an outsider too. Everybody feels like an outsider. And all the characters are struggling with that inner demons. And so they took the character dynamics and what you knew about them in the comics and expanded on them and made them all right, we'll take that, but we're going to make that into a CW show. Because it's very much, was it your friend that said that?
It's just, she's like, oh yeah, it's just like, oh, it's so CW. She's like, wait, forget that. It's so WB.
It is. It really is. Like, it's basically you take Archie Comic. If you're summarizing the show, you'd be like, Archie Comics heads to the WB or the CW for younger people who might not be like, WB, what the hell?
Oh man, it was a long time ago.
It was a long time. It was like 15 years ago, more than that, early 2000s, I think, because Buffy was in mid-run. It was like after season 5 of Buffy. So that was like when 2001-ish. Mm-hmm. So the people that are watching Riverdale probably weren't even born yet when it was still the WB.
Oh my gosh.
Not to make us feel too old, but that was when it jumped over to UPN. Maybe that's what I'm thinking, was Buffy. So maybe it was a couple years still until they just merged them together.
I'm thinking Veronica Mars.
Yeah,
because Veronica Mars.
I think Veronica Mars might have been
on UPN, and then
I think it got canceled. I think it might. Was that one of the the shows that didn't make the cut?
I guess.
Because I remember watching.
Well, in 2007.
I was involved in Smallville at that time, and I was like, oh my god, are they going to keep Smallville? And yeah, they did. I was like, oh, okay, good. No, I'm good then.
And they kept it forever. Longer.
Yeah. Well, God, I know so much, and I feel like we've sort of fallen into that with Riverdale now, because this show could totally be on for like 10 years, and they'll be like, no, Archie and Jughead and them are in college, Riverdale University, or whatever. So they did a pretty direct translation of the characters and the elements from the show, just a lot darker. So season one.
What attracted you to season? Like, what did you like about season 1?
Well, I mean, I grew up as a kid. I watched soap operas with my parents. We watched General Hospital in Port Charles, the spinoff that nobody probably remembers at this point. So I was kind of already well-versed on the whole soap opera element of it. And I like the fact that the characters all are sort of dangerous. And there's a very... the show is really good, as most soap operas are. And I don't mean and I should clarify, I don't mean soap opera in like a derogatory sense. I mean soap opera as in, it's about love triangles and murder mysteries, and there's even a freaking twin at one point. You know what I mean? It's very much like playing with a bag of cliches, but like in a fun and interesting way. And this show, unlike a lot of daytime soap operas, is sort of self-aware and pokes fun at itself when it's kind of being ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I think season 1 especially nails that tone. Season 2 leans a little too much on the self-serious side, and I think I've seen some chatter to that effect over the last year or so, where some fans are like, oh man, I don't know, they don't have the same spark enough. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that they went from 13 episodes to 22 episodes. So the first season centers mostly on the murder of Jason Blossom and that whole mystery being solved. So what did you think of that storyline and I guess how that all develops? It feels like forever ago that we watched that, even though it was only a few months ago now.
It kind of, in a way, though, feels predictable that it was
the dad.
Spoilers. I mean, it's also.
Wait, which storyline are we talking about? Jason Blossom or the Black Hood?
Jason Blossom. It's also horrific that a father would even do that to his child. But then again, that family is completely messed up. Watching the dynamic, the interaction between the kids and the parents is. I think that was another thing that caught my attention on season 1, is that just the back and forth, and how some of the parents are like, some of them are just flat out evil, and then others are just
good people.
Some of them are decent people. Good people, but have their own secrets, and they're just trying to raise their family and all that. So
I was going to say, and that's what's interesting about this show, is that just when you think it's being all light and like, oh, Archiekins, then there's like, an incest thing revealed, or like, conversion therapy, or like, I guess a father killing his own son, and like torture things, or like all kinds of crazy weird shit happening. Like they do that intentionally, I feel like. Like, they lure you in, like, oh, look, it's Archie Comics. It's fine, don't worry about it. It's harmless. You can take it. Here, hand it. It's not going to hurt you. And then you're like, okay. And then you take it, and they're like,
It makes me think of the Red Pill or Blue Pill.
Fucking Midge is, like, nailed against the wall. And you're like, what the hell? I thought this was, like, a musical episode. What's going on?
Makes me think of the Red Pill or Blue Pill.
Yeah. But they bait you with the apparent harmlessness of the property, Archie Comics, and then they flip it on you. And continually shock you with how dark the show is willing to go,
Yeah, it's pretty dark. It's on at 8 o'clock, right?
I guess. I'm not sure. I don't watch these things live. Probably.
I always ask that question with shows like this, because when we were kids, at 8 o'clock TV is like the prime time slot. That was when 8 o'clock was
Full House.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even shows like Roseanne that were more controversial were 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And obviously, then the other shows like ER.
Married with Children was like 9
o'clock, yeah.
9:30.
ER was 10 o'clock because it was blood and, more adult themes. Now, 8 o'clock is shows like Gotham.
NYPD Blue was on at like 10 too.
Yeah.
Because it was like,
shows like,
watch out, you might see Dennis Franz's ass. I was like, oh, okay. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, so that's how you knew it was time to go to bed.
Right.
Was when the 10 o'clock show started.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Exactly. But now, Gotham, Riverdale, like these.
Now you turn on your TV or your computer, viewer discretion is advised already. That's why you have to, and we'll get there in a few years with our daughter. That's why you have to have that like parental lock on things, because otherwise you never know what the hell you're going to see on the online or on television these days.
I know. It's like they're trying to go further and further because cable
because time
channels
slots don't really matter anymore because
that's true, there's a DVR.
DVR, like everything's accessible whenever you want it to be.
That's true.
So
but I guess it's also
time slots are obsolete.
They also have to like push it because cable channels are pushing it already.
Right.
So they have to compete.
True. I guess, yeah.
So.
And I do feel like I'm not sure what the deal is with Riverdale, but I feel like it's very, like, I've seen things touting it as a Netflix series, but it's not a Netflix series, it's CW. So I wonder if in some, like, overseas maybe, if Riverdale is Netflix exclusive. Like, maybe they don't carry CW overseas in certain countries or something.
Possible.
So I feel like maybe that's how they see Riverdale. Because I think that deal, putting that show on Netflix is really just going to benefit that show exponentially, because more and more people like us are going to be like, oh, I've heard of that, let's check it out, and then be like, oh my god, who's the Black Hood, you know? So I think overall, I think the Jason Blossom mystery was satisfying for the most part. I think, like I've said, the fact that it was 13 episodes helped it be a lot more focused, and every episode was kind of a critical piece of the puzzle. And I think in season 2 they went a little too, because it was 22 episodes, it was more sprawling, where I even said to you at one point, I'm like, there's like 400 things going on right now. What is happening? And like you can feel in the middle part of the season when the Black Hood mystery sort of dials down and the Hiram Lodge plan for Riverdale kind of ramps up, that only to later then the Black Hood thing randomly pops back up. It just feels like those few episodes, like maybe half a dozen episodes in the middle, were just filler because they needed to be like, all right, let's get something else going, you know what I mean? Or even though I like the storyline and I think it was an interesting turn of events because I love the coupling that develops out of it, Cheryl's whole, conversion therapy subplot there did feel kind of out of nowhere, and then she's back, and then it's kind of like everybody pretends like it never happened. It was weird. You know what I mean? Yeah, there are issues with the structure and the pacing, I think, of the show, especially in season 2, where you can sort of feel like they're trying to figure out, oh man, we designed this as a 13 episode like series. Now, not that they weren't going to go beyond season 1, but like the storyline in season 1 was so tight that you can tell in season 2 that they were like, oh shit, now we need to do 22. Our minds are programmed for we're like, the way that they were thinking about the storytelling dynamic on the show wasn't a 13 episode length, and now they need to figure out ways to expand on it.
Isn't that what happened with Glee?
I think that's definitely, Glee was 13 episodes, and then like after they filmed those, I think while they were still airing, then they got the back 9 ordered. That's what they call it.
Okay.
When you get to the extension to 22. And then that's why in season 1, episode 14 of Glee, the first one after those 13, like they win at, sectionals. And then the next episode, like all of a sudden Will and Emma are like, nope, we were together, but not really. Or like, oh, no, not really. They like take a couple steps back because we're not done. We're not ready to resolve the storyline yet. I guess there's a little bit of that in Riverdale. Because that mid-season, like, what is it? Like literally episode 10 or 11, right before the Christmas break, where the Black Hood is, quote, caught. So I feel like that's some of the issues with that. And I miss the Pussycats too. I actually miss the music. I thought the musical segments, and we'll get to that in a second. I thought the musical performances in season 1 were actually a lot stronger because it felt more organic, even though I think we're both in agreement that Mrs. Grundy was totally just like bullshitting Archie, be like, you're so talented. I'm like, really? Is he? I don't know about that. I mean, he sounds like a white guy. It's like with a guitar.
Who's struggling to sing. He's straining.
And I'm no offense to KJ Apa, because I think he's a good looking guy and he's a decent actor. I just don't think his musical prowess is up to the par with some of the other people on the show.
Right.
Even though I do like that aspect of Archie's character, because they do take him, we talked about this recently too, they do take him too dark in season 2.
Yeah, there's this BuzzFeed article, because once we were done watching Riverdale, which wasn't that last night?
Let's see. Was it? No,
Friday. That's right. Yeah, it was
Friday. We were like, fuck it, let's go for it.
That's right.
6 episodes.
But we were on BuzzFeed, and they have this whole section for Riverdale. And
of course they do.
And there was one article that was saying, my opinion of season 1 of Riverdale versus season 2 of Riverdale.
Oh, yeah.
And Archie in the first season 2, they were like, yeah, Archie's kind of scary and like almost maybe like a fascist. And so that one made me laugh. Well, he did go.
Yeah,
he got a little scary.
I
liked him because he is a stand-up character. He's an honorable guy, and then he like gets the Veronica juice, and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, they have fun, sexy times. Well, and I've said this to you, before we recorded, that Archie really functions. Archie's not that interesting of a character to me, and Archie really functions. And I think season 2 they were trying to be like, let's make him more complicated, and I'm like, he's not. No, please don't. He functions best when he's like the straight man, like the normal, moral, upstanding guy trying to do the right thing in this town of crazies, sort of. And I think that's also extends to his dad, who's really the only fully above board parental figure on the whole show. Everyone else is either like abusive, like emotionally abusive, like Penelope Blossom, or manipulative and calculating, like the Lodges, or like harried and like overbearing, like Alice Cooper, which I love that her name is Alice Cooper. You know what I mean? And Fred Andrews is really the only one who's like got his shit together. Which
I love the fact that Fred Andrews is played by Luke Perry.
Right, that's the 90210 reference you were foreshadowing.
That's awesome. And he actually does a pretty good job acting in that role. I mean, I never really thought Luke Perry was the greatest actor, but he's not too pretty good in this.
It's interesting because some of the parents are, I mean, I mentioned Skeet Ulrich in the up top. But, some of them I think feel like have aged into, like they have more of a, especially the men, have more of a grizzled look and feel. And like I think they have more gravitas than they did 20 years ago when they were in stuff. And maybe because they've lived so much life since their iconic roles in 90210 or Scream or, All My Children, or I'm trying to, because the Alice Cooper, that actress was on Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, they have much more, they've done a lot more work in those subsequent decades since they're like more famous roles. So I think they bring that experience to these parts. And, even when the kids, who are all pretty good on the show, but even when they're not as solid, I feel like the actors playing the parents really keep the storyline together and convey that emotion.
Well, you want to know something weird that we haven't, that probably no one's even thought about, and I didn't even realize until just now? Cole Sprouse actually has like 20 years of acting experience.
That's true.
And he is one of the better acting kids on that show.
Yeah. And we say kid being under 30, I guess. They're playing kids on the show, so we're calling them kids, even though they're all like 20 something. He's been doing this
since Big Daddy, and that was in 98?
99, I think, yeah. Close.
That's almost 20 years of acting. He was on Friends, he was on...
But he was a kid actor,
Yeah, but...
How much... And he took a break from acting to attend college from his Wikipedia entry, which I may or may not have read after discovering that I love Jughead so much. But you know what I mean? Like, Skeet Ulrich, and Mark Consuelos.
Skeet Ulrich was in Scream in 1995. That's only a 4...
You're always a year off.
Yeah, that's only a 3-year difference to Cole Sprouse.
Yeah.
So...
But that was his most famous role. He was in stuff before that.
That's actually very...
But that was his most famous role.
He was in The Craft, but... Yeah, but that was a year before.
That was
so that's only a 3 to 4 year difference.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
That he's a more veteran actor compared to his peers.
Do you think do you agree with me that overall season 1 is much tighter story? The structure is really sound, and it kind of balances that. We're this goofy Archie show, and we're this really dark, fucked up show. Balances that tone better than season 2, which I think falls too much on the latter. Except that one episode where they're at the cabin and everybody's having sex and hearing each other through the walls and stuff. I think that they did go a touch dark this season, and I mean The Flash and other CW shows have had kind of similar criticism. So I wonder if season 3, if they're gonna try and revert it back to this, finding that season 1 sweet spot a little bit more. And of course, I said the music. I think the Pussycats kind of lend themselves to all these regular musical performances, obviously. So that leads to the obvious question. What did you think of the musical episode in season 2? The Carrie musical, which is random and weird that they even did it, especially since season 2 is so much darker. And then they're like, no, they're gonna burn. And I didn't know that was the episode until they started singing. Because I knew there was an episode in that season, but I didn't know when it was exactly. And then all of a sudden they're like starting to, the episode opens and they're singing, and I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, I guess this is where we are. And you were like, oh no.
I was even saying while we were watching it that the two redheads, their voices, I really was struggling to listen to them sing. Like they are
no shade to Madeline Petch, I think you say her name, because she's great.
Yeah, she's one of the Cheryl Blossom's one of the most interesting characters for sure.
By far, yeah, she's great on the show, and the character.
You root for her, but you're also like other times you're like, oh my gosh, you're scary.
But every show, every high school show has that, whether it's Cordelia on Buffy or like Santana on Glee or other teen shows. I didn't watch that many. I haven't really watched that many like teen drama high school shows, I guess, in my life, as probably you. But you always need that bad girl type with like what I always call quasi evil, where they go back and forth between causing problems and being an ally, and then causing problems again. And so the musical episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't like it. I'm not really. I don't like musicals for the most part. I mean, other than Grace, I just don't really.
The original High School Musical.
Yeah, it's just hard for me to. I get over analytical. I'm like, why are they singing in the middle of their classroom, like, or middle of their bedroom? Like, it's just hard for me to take myself. So I don't like musical episodes
because the principle behind it is that they sing when they can't express their emotions any other way. That's kind of how a lot of musicals operate.
Yeah.
And I like musicals, and I love the Buffy musical episode, which I feel like since that every other show feels like they want to do a musical episode, because didn't Scrubs do one, and like I think Grey's Anatomy did one. I feel like most TV dramas after Buffy were like, we got to do a musical episode now. But I haven't seen most of them, but I don't like, even in The Flash, Supergirl, they did a musical episode. That wasn't that good either to me. It just feels like an excuse. I mean, it basically is an excuse for the actors to sing. But
some of them maybe don't want to sing.
Right.
I was just about to say that. Like, some of them maybe feel like they're...
Well, it feels very pointed that Jughead is the videographer and does not sing one line in that song. I feel like Cole Sprouse was basically, famously on the set of Buffy, Alison Hannigan, I guess, didn't want to sing, really, because she doesn't sing in that episode. She doesn't really sing much on How I Met Your Mother, even though everybody else does, too. So I feel like Cole Sprouse was like, yeah, don't make me sing, please.
I mean, you got to hand it to people like KJ Apa and Madeline
Petch, I think P-E-T-S-C-H.
Who's saying who don't really have the best voices, but then again, Archie seems to think he is a really good singer, so...
Well, on the show
yeah.
At least, yeah. Well, that's because Miss Grundy, that's her
MO.
Sexual predator tactic, as that scene, kind of confirmed, I guess, in season 2. Yeah, I agree with you. The musical episode was okay. I just kind of wanted to, I guess at a certain point, I just kind of wanted to get past it. It's fun as sort of a gimmicky one-off, but I also, I didn't even know that really Carrie was a musical until Riverdale did their own version of it. And the music in there was fine. It wasn't really, in order for something like that to work for me, it has to be executed at such a high level. And this to me felt very kind of half-assed, I guess, for lack of a better term. I still love the storylines and everything going on, but when they broke in the song, I was like, wait, what are we doing? Why is this happening? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they didn't, I don't know, it didn't elevate the show in any way. It just felt like a ratings grab more than anything else. Like it didn't fit this show organically, and they didn't really even do it. And I mentioned this to you when we were watching it. They didn't even do a very good job keying up, oh, we're doing a musical, it's coming up, blah, blah, blah. We're doing a school musical. They mentioned it like once or twice. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I guess this is it. You know what I mean? They didn't feed into it at all.
Right.
In a satisfying way for me. So hopefully if they do another like gimmicky idea in season 3, which I'm fine with that. I'm fine with rating stunts, and Buffy did a silent episode. They did like all kinds of weird different attempts at different things. Hopefully they don't do a musical episode and they do something else. I don't know exactly what form that would take, but I'm fine for them trying something different and more experimental. It's just, that one didn't really do it for me. So the season 1, we talked about season 1. We talked about the Jason Blossom, resolution. So season 2 mostly centers on mostly centers on the mystery of the Black Hood, who's basically a serial killer running through Riverdale and killing all the sinners. And obviously this one is I'm getting into more detail on because it's freshest in my mind because we just watched season 2, as Kai pointed out. So how did you feel about the Black Hood story? Did you think it was interesting, or did you feel like it was tiresome at a certain point? I'm just glad, like, after the first handful of episodes, they stopped talking about Jingle Jangle, because that was annoying as shit. Oh, there's Jingle Jangle out on the streets. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Well, having them explain in the Easter egg why it was called Jingle Jangle makes it sound less bad and annoying. It was called Jingle Jangle because that was actually the name of Archie's song that they had in 1969. The song was called Jingle Jangle, so it was a throwback to that.
I know. I don't care. It still sounds ridiculous.
Okay.
Like, oh, there's all this jingle jangle out on the street. I'm like, can you name it something less stupid?
At first I thought they were just saying, like, jingle jangle, like...
Oh, it's riff raff.
Right, like thingamajig. Like, I didn't realize that was actually going to be the name of it.
Yeah.
So that was disappointing.
There was a lot of jargon floating around in the first, 6 episodes of Riverdale season 2, where it's like, Jingle Jangle, the Sugar Man, the Black Hood. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Let's move on with the Jingle Jangle thing. So thankfully that, and then the Ghoulies, which I thought I don't care about the Ghoulies at all. Like, the Serpent stuff.
They're supposed to.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to continue to be important on the show. The Serpent stuff is interesting sometimes, but it also feels in large part like it's sometimes like they're in danger of playing it out, because season 1 and especially season 2 really takes you in the Serpent's den. We spent a lot of time in the White Worm in season 2 especially. Did you like all the gangland stuff happening in season 2, or did you think not really? I
don't care.
But you care about...
I care about
Jughead, you care about FP.
Tony and FP, but I just... You
don't care about Sweet Pea and Tall Boy?
Okay, they gotta change the names of these people.
Fangs?
They're terrible names. Terrible nicknames.
There was was it War Dog or War Pig or something?
Even War Dog is better than...
Hog Eye was the other guy.
Even War Dog is better than Sweet Pea. I mean, aren't these names supposed to be scary?
Yeah, Tall Boy is not.
And threatening? Tall Boy, Sweet Pea, that's...
At least Jughead already had a nickname. He didn't have to come in. Oh. Is that why all of FP's kids have ridiculous nicknames? Because just in case they grow up and become serpents, it's like, all right, you're a serpent now, Jelly Bean.
I hope we meet.
Do we know how old Jelly Bean's supposed to be? Did they ever establish that on the show?
Most likely younger than Jughead.
Well, yeah, but how much younger? Like 10 or like
maybe she's
a couple years.
Like maybe she?
Isn't it she?
Yeah, she. Yeah, maybe she's in middle school or something.
Yeah.
And so isn't the mom mad at this point that FP keeps saying he's going to go back to Toledo and he never goes back?
They did that 2 seasons in a row. That's true.
You're going
to go back with your mom. It's like, no, I'm not. Okay, you don't have to.
And then the second season, they did it like twice in the second season. So I would think that the mom would just be like, just shut up already. I don't believe you.
Well, FP officially retired from the Serpents now.
Right.
But, okay, so we got distracted by the Serpent talk, because that's basically, there's 4. How many main plot lines go on in season 2? Okay, you got the Black Hood thing, which is starts the season and ends the season, really. You got the Serpents, Ghoulies, whatever thing. You got the Hiram Lodge storyline with Archie and becoming one of his capos, and Hiram, of course, that ties into the Serpent thing. And then I guess you have the chick thing.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was creepy. He was scary. He's like washed out Dave Franco is what I kept calling him, because that's what he reminds me of, like, a lot.
Yeah, and it's like, he was creepy enough, and he did a good job being really creepy, but like I would be in the shower and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I would think about Chick's face and I'm like, oh, it's creepy.
Well, and there's that one like montage I think towards the beginning of one of the episodes where he's like showing up behind Betty every 2 seconds. She's like, hey Betty, and you're like, whoa, what the hell? That's how she's reacting, and it gets to put us in her mindset, because I was already there with the first episode with him. I'm just like, oh my God, this guy's creepy, get him out of here. So we don't even know what happened to Chick, speaking of.
Oh yeah, he could be back.
I mean, I think he'll be back, probably. There's more storyline to tell there. So the Black Hood mystery, like, which of those storylines, is that basically the main 4? Yeah. The mayoral race, but that's really more about how the lodges at a certain point. There's a lot of subplot, and I guess the season two does a good job of tying everything together. It's just like most stories, it's that middle act, the middle section of the season where it kind of like, are we about the Black Hood? No, now we're about this, but also these 6 other things. And then the last few episodes, it does a pretty good job kind of weaving everything together and combining the different subplots.
We're talking about Chick and plot lines. So what happened with Betty in the webcam?
I don't know. I don't know if she's still doing that. I hope not, because I like Betty, and that she shouldn't be doing that to herself. She's better than that.
Because
especially that's not something she should be doing. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. Plus,
no judgment, but it's like you're in a relationship. Don't go on there and like have a secret life where you're being. Doing that even plus, is Chick your role model? Is this who you want to be? Like, oh, I want to try that too. I hope now that she's discovered that he's a psycho, possibly, who may or may not have killed her brother or whatever, her real brother. Spoilers. Hopefully, she's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. That's bad. I'll keep my wig only for sex. Which was great when he called her out on that. He's like, oh, she wears it when she has sex with Jughead. She's like, how could you know that? And he's like, oh, I was right? I was just guessing. That was pretty funny. So which of those, did you like the Chick storyline, or was that just, it was effectively creepy?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. The Chick storyline, though, also, they dealt with a couple of really weird things, like with the dead guy.
Oh, in the house?
Yeah, and then Darla, who was blackmailing them, and I just...
Yeah, they had that, like, the Psycho reference where they got rid of the car and it, like, sinks into the...
Yeah, it just was really weird, and I don't know if it was really necessary.
It feels like filler, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Because because that's the other thing, too. The Black Hood and Hiram, the Lodges, and the Serpent thing, those all sort of kind of come together. The Black Hood creates chaos, and then the Lodges sort of capitalize on that, and then that affects the Serpents and that whole thing. The Chick thing sort of feels like out of nowhere, and that it does come through pretty much after the Black Hood, soon after, right?
Yeah.
So that does feel like, oh crap, we need to fill a few episodes here. Let's bring this guy in and have that sort of be important. And their resolution was to not really resolve it, was to have the Black Hood chasing him down the street. She's like, you better get out of here. I did like the game of one-upsmanship with Betty and Chick, because I love Betty. We'll get to that in a second.
Oh yeah, that scene with Chick and Betty, and she's like, oh, I would have said something to the sheriff about you bringing someone in my kitchen if I wanted to get rid of you. And he's like, oh, but I didn't do any of that, Betty. It's not my fingerprints. It's not me that did with the car. And I'm like, oh my God.
And she basically...
He's diabolical.
She almost basically gets to that point where she intimidates him at one point, and she's like, oh, something basically...
No.
Well,
she
does
was before
too.
that conversation.
Yeah. She does but she also sort of insinuates at some point, like, oh, I have a darkness. You like basically insinuate you haven't even seen my darkness yet. That kind of thing. And I thought that was cool. Betty's one of the best characters on the show. But I'm getting ahead of things. So the Black Hood mystery, as I was telling you from like before the Svensson thing, I was like, it's Hal Cooper. Okay. And then every time Hal Cooper showed up, I was just like, hey there, Black Hood, what's going on?
But we'll explain to podcast land
what was my rationale. Okay, So we knew it was a white male in his 40s. It's not Luke Perry, because he's the one that got shot. It's not Hiram Lodge, because he's not a white guy, he's Hispanic. And it's not Tall Boy or Sweet Pea, Sweet Pea's not in his 40s, but it's not one of those Serpents. It's definitely not FP, because he's clearly a sympathetic character. And he was the one holding the mystery. He wasn't the one behind the Jason Blossom thing, but he was involved in some degree. Oh, and speaking of taking a brief detour, which is fitting because it's a crooked detour. The Jughead and his dad thing in season 1, I think, was one of the most poignant storylines in that first season for me. And that made me go like, oh my God, I think I love Skeet Ulrich. Is Skeet Ulrich a great actor now? And I just never realized it. So that was a distant aside on Skeet Ulrich in the show. So I figured, I knew we only had a certain amount of characters. I knew it had to be a major character, but not like so major that if he got caught and got killed or went to prison, it would, it's not going to be Archie, because first of all, he doesn't fit the demographics and doesn't make sense with the storyline. And you need him there to be, someone that's an essential part of the show, but not so essential. And Lachlan Monroe has sort of been there in season 1, but in season 2, he didn't really have much to do for most of it until the second half, really. You notice that like season 1, he's there sort of, but not really there. And then he has more to do when Chick comes into the house and he's like, oh, Alice, blah, blah, blah. And he starts hooking up with Penelope Blossom, and there's no Black Hood for a while. And then I was like, oh, we're back to the Black Hood. Like they build his importance in the second half of the season so that when the reveal happens,
wait, so you think Penelope Blossom was the secret to keeping him keeping him sane?
Oh God, that's awkward.
Because he was happy hooking up with her, so he's like, I don't need to kill anybody. I got my...
She's getting me off now, I guess, so I get satisfied that way as opposed to, strangling Miss Grundy, which R.I.P. with Miss Grundy, but not really. She seems like a horrible person, as according to the show.
Because it's true. I think that's exactly what the timing was, that he got with Penelope Blossom and he was too busy to be the Black Hood. Yeah. He was too busy to call on Betty and...
I wonder if now that we're talking about it, I wonder if they were always intending on that being Hal Cooper, or they thought they were going to end the storyline there. Because you could have easily had that, it was Mr. Svensson, crazy. But then a few episodes after in the second half, Archie's like, sometimes I wonder, did we get the right guy? And then that puts that seed of doubt into your head.
But no, it was the way it ended on the Christmas episode where Betty was putting the fireplace and even wondering.
Oh, and then and Jughead's thing is like, but it's not really over or something.
Right.
But was that talking about the Black Hood or Chick? Because there's an episode where he's like, just as she gets rid of one monster, she brings another one possibly into her life or whatever. And he's standing over her being like, I don't know who this person is.
That's true. Okay.
So I wonder if they pivoted halfway through and they were like, I don't know, that Black Hood reveal didn't have the oomph we needed. Let's tease that maybe it's not over. And then who could it be? And then they crafted the whole Penelope Blossom thing with Hal so that his story, he would actually have more of a presence in the second half.
It's with the Black Hood though, with the hood over his face and the eyes and the shape of his face, it did match Hal Cooper's though.
Yeah, I wonder. I'm curious. I should see if I can find some interviews with the writers of the show now that we're done with season 2 and we're up to date. I'm curious how the writing process for that broke down. So was that a strong reveal for you? Were you like, yeah? Because I was like, I was right.
It would have been.
If I hadn't spoiled it for you,
like,
but did that serve the storyline well? Did you like that?
I think so, and it explained it pretty well.
It tied into the Blossom Conaway thing. Yeah,
because he
backstory.
Because he had a darkness, an evil inside of him.
Yeah.
And Betty felt like
it fit. Too. I don't know. I just wonder if that was the way they did it. It did seem like it fit. I just wonder if that was always what they intended, or if they sort of changed their approach to the storyline halfway through. But either way, I think it works. I called it before Mr. Svensson. I was like, I don't know. I don't think it's over. It's gonna be Hal Cooper, y'all. And it was Hal Cooper.
So how did
hanging with Hal Cooper?
How did Mr. Svensson then get involved? Where he was the Black Hood in that scene, and he had his finger cut off.
I think probably he was manipulated by Hal.
Right.
Yeah. So I like that. I think we'll see more of him. I think Betty will still keep going to see him in prison, and we'll obviously Betty's inner darkness is a continuing thread going forward. But I think that I like the way that storyline resolved. It's I just think they had too much going on in season 2. That was kind of my thing. So hopefully now that they'll kind of pivot back to the season 1 approach and apply that to a 22 episode model. Or I think I heard it's going to be 23 episodes, but still same difference.
Wow.
So I think that's sort of wraps up that part of it. So what are some of our favorite characters and or favorite couples from the show? Season 1 or 2, doesn't matter. The overall thing.
Well, might get some heat for this, but one of my favorite characters is still Archie. Maybe not
traitor.
The last half of season 2.
Now when he's red circle or dark circle or whatever the circle.
Yeah, he's getting too close to Harem Lodge and making some decisions that he should be making. But overall, Archie, because he is the foundation of the show, and I like that he really he's a good person. He is loyal. He's a straight man in the world, the town of crazies. And
what did you think of the Nick Sinclair storyline?
Yeah, he's still strong.
That actually reminded me of that. Because he had that Nick Sinclair thing was kind of, I thought that was he was an interesting villain, and I sort of feel like probably not done with him in a way.
Somebody they could bring back.
Because that was some of the darkness of Archie, what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, I actually think I like Nick St. Clair better at the second half of season 2 than I did the first half.
When he gets his comeuppance even more so, and then Veronica gets the upper hand on him and all that. I had a feeling it was going to be that way.
The fact that she is keeping the money though.
Well, she wants to invest it, and she was trying to invest it. Did she buy the diner with that?
But she's keeping money that was basically through illicit means.
Yeah.
Ransom is illegal.
Yeah, I know.
I wish that she would have just been like, I was just joking. Here's some money back.
The lodges are they're very loose morals. Let's put it that way, to put it mildly. So Archie's is your favorite?
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Okay, who are the other favorites? So that I can use to piggyback off of some of them, because you haven't hit one yet.
I like Veronica.
Yeah, I like Veronica too.
She's multi-layered, and she's
much more complicated on the show than in the comics.
Yeah,
like everybody.
And in the comics, she's actually more mean. She's more the mean girl. She's like mean. Yeah, she's
here.
Mean
They
girl.
have Cheryl Blossom is the mean girl here.
Oh, Cheryl's fun too.
Yeah, I love Cheryl. Cheryl's one of my top. I don't know if top 3, but definitely top 5 for sure. Because she has that ability to go from one of the gang to like their arch nemesis and then back again. And now she's a serpent. She got a red jacket, which is pretty cool. And she's instantly a sympathetic character because of her horrible family, especially her mother. And that makes you kind of root for her in that context. But then you take her into school and she's being a pain in the ass with our main quartet in a lot of ways. And then she's the antagonist. It's an interesting dynamic with her.
And I like her with Tony.
And I love Tony, and I love that relationship. I think is really sweet. And I think that was an interesting, not really twist, I guess, sort of reveal, because they were toying with that earlier in the season with the Josie obsession that she had going there a little bit. Which, again, that was another thing, pacing-wise, where they sort of mentioned that and then forgot about it. And they're like, oh yeah, here. This is why they put her in conversion therapy or whatever. Remember? Right. That felt kind of haphazard a little bit to me. Ultimately got us to a good place, but it took a while to kind of get to the point. So yeah, Cheryl for sure. You didn't even mention Bughead. I love Betty and I love Jughead. They're probably my 2 favorite ones on the show.
What's like the thing is I like all of them. I knew what you were gonna say. So
you like Chick? Chick's one of your favorite?
No, I mean of the kids.
You like Tallboy? You like Sweet Pea?
No, but no.
No, they're not bad characters. I'm just saying.
But Bughead is pretty cute. Like out of the couples, I do like Bughead the most. Right. And Tony.
Well, tell the people why. You told me, and I thought that was a good point.
I think so. Clearly, Archie and Veronica have no qualms. Have no qualms about having sex wherever they are all the time.
They're teenagers.
Because that's the response. Because it's like that Cabot episode said. That's the response for everything. And with Betty and Jughead, they seem like they're more restrained in their emotions in a way and their passions. So when they actually do like have sex and stuff, it's like actually hotter in a sense.
But they still get a little freaky with the wigs and stuff.
Yeah, and their love just seems more genuine.
Well, it seems like more of an emotional connection and like in a way more love versus the other two are like, we're just 2 sexy young people. Let's have sex everywhere. And it feels like more like the Varchi thing is more lust, and then the Jughead and Betty thing feels like more of an emotional bond that they have, where they're fine like embracing each other and that kind of thing. Veronica and Archie are like, okay, but let's go have sex somewhere. You know what I mean? They don't even really talk very much. They're just like, hi, okay, what did my dad say? Okay, let's go have sex.
And I feel like Betty and Jughead have been through more together too.
Yeah, well,
the only thing that's really
Archie's getting there now with all the lodge stuff.
Well, it's going with Archie. Well, Archie and Veronica, I mean, they were going through stuff, but it's all related to her dad.
Yeah, basically.
Her bad news dad versus Betty and Jughead. Betty and Veronica. It was a lot of double digest on Betty and Veronica.
Which is another couple that some people are probably rooting for in that after the pilot. Kiss. They mentioned that in season 2. They called back to that, so I thought that was interesting.
But with Betty and Jughead, they've been through more together than just parents. It's the Serpents and they have more history, and they've known each other longer too.
Yeah.
So.
Wait. Oh, then Archie and Veronica?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, but obviously Veronica.
Archie's known Betty since forever. They lived next door to each other. So do we still think? And then we'll get back to the characters that we love and stuff real fast. Do we still think that Archie and Betty are probably endgame?
Probably. What I think is going to happen, maybe in season 3, or season 4. It's going to happen now eventually.
Oh, Archie and Betty?
No, Veronica and Reggie.
Oh.
Because if anybody that's read the comic, Archie Comics knows.
Yeah, I've read the Wikipedia page.
Archie and Reggie had a love triangle with Veronica, and Betty and Veronica had a love triangle with Archie. So, the Reggie this season got a lot more
Who we should mention, they recast because the original actor was on 13 Reasons Why or something.
Yeah. And Archie and Reggie are frenemies. So I think that couple will probably happen because it just seemed like they're doing a lot of callbacks to the comic strip.
It's also in season 1. So in season 1, like maybe midway through or like towards the end of the season, Archie and Veronica got together, and Betty and Jughead like midway through the season, right?
Right. Because
they weren't like, nobody was really coupled up for the first few episodes, I think. And then in season 2, Betty and Jughead broke up like 3 times and they got back together. And Archie and Veronica have been strong all through season 2. So that means season 3, that they're definitely going to break up at some point. So that's when I could see her probably rebounding with Reggie. And maybe Bughead will be stable in season 3. But that's the thing with the show. It's like you can't take any of the couple stuff seriously because they're all going to break up and then date each other. And that's what a soap opera is, especially a teen soap opera. That's high school, too, to an extent. When you have a finite number of kids in high school, on a high school show, they're all going to date each other at some point. So I guess we'll do the parents in a second, though. We also probably want to mention Kevin, because Kevin's really fun on the show. I think he has some interesting stuff. It's like as a supporting player, and I do like Josie, and they gave her much more to do this season. And I'd like to see more of Josie and the Pussycats, which, yes, after this whole Riverdale rabbit hole we fell down, and thanks to the Blank Check podcast doing an episode on it, I did just go ahead and blind buy Josie and the Pussycats on DVD.
Which I saw the movie in the movie
theater. So I'll be
theater
watching that soon.
In 2001.
That'll be interesting.
I saw it with some friends of mine, and I just was like, okay, it was okay. I really like the soundtrack a lot.
Well, because it's a satire, and I don't think anybody realized that at the time.
I didn't realize it.
Maybe that's kind of my thoughts on Last Action Hero. Like, I don't think anybody realized Last Action Hero, the Arnold movie from 1993, was a satire. I think they were just like, this is stupid. I'm like, yes, it is supposed to be. Action movies are stupid. That's the whole point. But I don't think anybody got it. So, I mean, and that's why that movie did really poorly. So I have a feeling that that's basically the same kind of thing with Josie and the Pussycats based on what I've heard. So we'll be watching that at some point soon. So moving into the parents of Riverdale, who are your favorite parents, or parental figures, I guess?
Well,
don't say Penelope Blossom. She's scary.
Well, Alice Cooper's grown on me.
Alice Cooper. She's a rock star.
Yeah, she's grown on me in season 2.
She did a lot more in season 2. I think she was much... I think because they hinted at stuff in season 1 with her, but they didn't really solidify a lot of things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Season 1, she was like, I gave up a baby. And we're like, okay. And here they're like, here's a baby. Nope, that's not him. And we're like, oh my God. I may have been a serpent at one point. And like now she's like... dressing up and going to the White Worm and like wearing her jacket or whatever and like
walking in that investor meeting.
And we're confirming the fact that she was with FP, like in a relationship with him.
Well, more than that.
That she had the baby with FP, which I kind of figured at some point. Look at Hal Cooper, he's lame.
So Alice Cooper's grown on me.
Yeah, I agree.
She's got a lot more depth to her.
She's
at first in season 1, you think she's just this crazy, controlling mom.
Right. But still well intentioned, just like overbearing, like too much, too involved in her kids' lives, basically.
And like seemed like she was really mean spirited, and then season 2 she you find out why, and
she was married to a serial killer.
Yeah,
that's why.
You find out why, and she clearly loves her children, and so Alice Cooper, and definitely FP and Fred Andrews.
Yeah, FP is my parental VIP.
Yeah, he
for me.
He's got a lot of problems, but he does love Jughead and wants what's best for him, even if he can't provide it. And sometimes Hermione Lodge.
Really?
Yeah.
You think she's low key?
She's like duplicitous, but
yeah. Well, she does love Veronica more than what's his face, who seems to love power more than anything else. Like he loves Veronica and he loves his wife. But he also mostly just loves money and power and stuff. Right.
And I feel like she is only doing the things that she's doing because she's scared of him. She's scared of the consequences.
I'm scared of him.
Well, and even he said to Archie, he's like, oh, if you don't side with us like you did when you took your oath.
Yeah, he did the whole blood thing with him and everything. That was a bad move, Archie. You're so stupid. Why did that? Veronica is very sexy. That's why.
He's like, there will be consequences.
So season 3, then we'll get more consequences. What about, you didn't mention Hiram Lodge? You don't think he's one of your favorite characters? He's not one of your favorite parents? I mean, he doesn't have to, remember, I said favorite as in most fun to watch. Like, then I mean, like, I want to be friends with this person. Your favorite character could be the worst person on the show.
I feel like it was better when he wasn't around in season 1.
When he was like the Emperor Palpatine off screen, like, oh, he's not as forgiving as I am. Yeah. And now he's here, and you're like, he's just kind of slimy and gross.
Sort of.
But do we basically think he's supposed to be the big bad of the entire series? I think that's kind of what they're leading to.
Which is so funny because in the comics, they didn't really have a big bad.
He was older.
It was usually Mr. Weatherby.
Yeah, there's no bad.
Mr. Weatherby was actually the big bad in the comics.
Which he had an antagonistic moment late in season 2 here, where they're like, oh, you're not that kind of person, discriminating against the Serpents and stuff because the schools were integrated and all that. Now I agree with the FP, Fred Andrews, and Alice Cooper. I think are probably the strongest of the parent characters. The Blossoms scare me. The Lodges scare me. I also like Hiram Lodge as a villain, and it's interesting because Mark Consuelos is a very charismatic guy, and he can play those like, oh Archie, it's okay, blah blah blah. Come on, speak to me. Try this rum or whatever. But then 2 seconds later, he's got the crazy eyes, and you're like, holy shit. Get out, Archie, get out! But he still can't, you know what I mean? So he has the ability to kind of pivot between, sympathetic and, caring, like, parent and, like, freaking, scary mobster guy, basically.
And like I said before the podcast, and I'm not going to get too much into this, but...
Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up in a second here.
It also kind of makes me feel like he is a play on our current...
political...
climate
situation. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I don't know if that was intentional.
Well, they didn't do the thing on Riverdale like they did on Gotham, where they're like in Gotham when Penguin ran for mayor in season 3, I think, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna make Gotham safe again" or something like that. They didn't go that far with Riverdale. Although they totally could have. I think that might have been maybe too on the nose. Riverdale is, I guess, somehow trying to be more subtle than Gotham. But Gotham's pretty, like, in your face with everything they do.
Well, even Supergirl was...
Nevertheless, she persisted in season 2 finale, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, overall, what are our thoughts on this show? Will we recommend it to people? I know you've already been recommending it to everybody you know. Do we think it does something like it obviously has some predictable moments, like you're like, oh, it's going to be this or whatever, because we've all seen soap operas before and teen dramas before. Do you think it does something interesting with those cliches? And is it the plot or the characters? Like, what do you think? What keeps you coming back to the show? And what do you I think we both prefer season 1 to season 2.
Yeah.
Right?
I think what just makes me come back is just they have really good cliffhangers.
Oh, God. Every episode, we're like, another one.
Yeah, precisely, where we're staying up till 2 in the morning.
Well, that's why the power of binging. Once we're caught up, now we can't do that for season 3.
I have to wait like 4 months.
Yeah, for one episode, and another week, and then another week, and another week.
I think that's why we stopped watching Supergirl. We got tired of waiting.
Yeah, I think so.
We were doing other things.
That's true.
But that won't happen with Riverdale. Don't worry. And the characters are interesting too. It's characters that I grew up with, but with more dimension, and that makes it fun. Plus,
there's a certain, like, I don't know, like I said, I guess guilty pleasure, like it's like sort of gossipy, like, oh my God, look at what this person's into now. Like it's like got that kind of, which is the base appeal, I think, of soap operas in general. Like, oh my God, this person's up to this thing now. What's going on? Like it's sort of a crazy melodrama constantly happening. So-and-so broke up with so-and-so. Are they going to go back with this person?
Well, actually, the other thing that's interesting about Riverdale that is not like a soap opera is, like in soap operas, a lot of the characters are rich. It's just basically rich people.
Here's
problems.
Just the Lodges and just the Blossoms, sort of. Not so much anymore,
I guess. And the Coopers, which seem like there's maybe more of an upper middle class.
Upper middle class, I think, yeah. And then the lower middle class. Well, and then even the Andrews, he has his own business,
which is doing well.
It's struggling, but still.
And obviously, the Jones don't have money.
No, the Joneses are like
they can't keep up. Like, they're not even keeping up with themselves. When
the show started, Jughead was homeless. Wasn't he?
Yeah, he was living in the drive-in.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think they try and hit all the socioeconomic classes.
That's when the vendetta against Hiram Lodge really began. Jughead's been out to get him since the beginning because Hiram Lodge, he found out that Hiram Lodge bought the drive-in that's where basically he was living.
Right.
So it was the first push. But
yeah. Interesting. So we like it. It's fun. It's dark, and it's shocking, but it's not heavy, really. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not heavy. You know what? It's dark, but it doesn't get to the point where you're like, oh my God, it was disturbing me. You're like, that's why I don't watch shows like Homeland or The Americans or any of these like shows with like heavy political undertones or anything like. Because I'm like, I don't want to think about the real world when I watch TV that much. When I'm watching a regular show, it's sort of. That's why. And there's this. So it's dark, but it still has an undercurrent of escapism, where even with as crazy as things get, you never really take it too seriously in a way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, in closing, watch Riverdale seasons 1 and 2 streaming on Netflix. Season 3, any thoughts? Hiram Lodge's Legion of Doom. We're going to see more of them, I guess.
I think Reggie's going to get more time.
More Reggie. Varchie's probably going to break up at some point here. And, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what new elements they introduce. I think the ones they're going to pick up on are going to be what I'm calling Lodge's Legion of Doom and the Varchie situation. I think Bughead's going to be okay for the time being. Yeah,
they've already broken up a couple times.
Yeah, they think they need a break. Even Finchel didn't break up like multiple times a season, like once, I think, maybe.
Well, Jughead is also realizing how important Betty is in his life. He even said, he's like, since you've been gone, I've been making such terrible decisions. Or
sort of.
Yeah.
Well, he cut a freaking part of a woman's arm off. See, Jughead went a little too far. Everybody went a little too far this season. I think that was kind of at the end of it. Like, all right, well, we did bad things, but we're better people now for it.
Do you think anything's going to happen with that dead guy? Or do you think that storyline's closed?
The guy that Chick killed?
Yeah.
Probably not at this point. I think we're going to probably see Chick again, though. I think that'll be part of the Betty storyline in season 3. And I'm sure there's new elements, that a new character coming into town that we don't even know about yet. But they have a lot of dangling threads going forward. And the fact that Lodge's Legion of Doom ties everybody together, where you got Penny Peabody, you got Penelope Blossom, you got the Malachi guy from the Ghoulies, like all the different, it affects everybody else. Everybody in that room affects all the other kids, like on personal levels. So I think that's going to be probably the basis from which any other stories grow out of.
What I think about with Sodell, I think about Back to the Future 2 with Biff.
I could see that.
It makes me think of a Biff town, like there's going to be bikers everywhere and in front of a big old...
Well, he wants to turn the town into a prison. Oh, and then Hermione Lodge is going to be mayor now, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
To see how that comes out. But so we have until October 10th to wait for that, and this is the beginning of June, so we'll just have to bide our time. That's why do you think I bought Josie and the Pussycats on DVD? I'm like, I need more Riverdale, something. They mentioned Riverdale in it, at least, so it counts. I don't know if it takes place in Riverdale.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think they go to LA or something, because they're like a small town band that makes it big or something. So maybe I'll write something for thecrookedtable.com about Josie and the Pussycats or something. I don't know. We'll see. But in the meantime, Riverdale has its hooks in us, and I think we're kind of going to see this through for the time being, right?
Unless it goes for 10 seasons.
Well, then we'll have to maybe... Then maybe we'll drop off and then come back when there's a couple seasons to catch up on or something. We'll see. But for now, definitely a fun show. Definitely something to check out. And if you have Netflix, you have the entire series at your disposal as of this recording.
Be forewarned. You may not...
Yeah, set aside your schedule and catch up on it sometime before October. So space that out as you wish, but you'll probably get sucked into it like we did. So that's all we have for now. If you like what we're doing over here, please consider contributing to our Patreon page at patreon.com/crookedtable. You can also rate and review the Crooked Table podcast on iTunes to help others find the show. You can find me, Robert Yaniz Jr., on Twitter at Crooked Table.
And Spotify.
Oh, I know, but I'm trying not to overwhelm them with things.
Okay, fair enough. And you can find me on Twitter at The Vault Key LLC.
Of course, you can find more podcasts, reviews, videos, and other movie-related goodies over at crookedtable.com. Until next episode, I've been Rob.
And I'm Kai.
We'll catch you around the table next week. Roll credits.
This has been a production of CrookedTable.com. All rights reserved.
CR double L K E D.